Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and with the release of FB03, I have a couple of deck lists I've been working on. I wanted to make this video a little bit earlier, but I just wasn't in a spot with my testing or my deck list where I was really confident with them, and I've spent pretty much a couple extra days testing and looking what the meta looks like, and I'm moderately confident in these ones right here. So maybe not 50 for 50 perfect yet, but just good starting points for anyone trying to pick up any of these leaders right now. So also I will be doing some testing on my live stream on YouTube as well as on Twitch. That will be live today at 9 a.m. PST. So as this video comes out, and I'll also make sure to have it linked in the description and on the probably pinned comment. We're probably going to focus on Bardock as well as Vegeta for that, but you guys can check that out. I do want to make some gameplay and testing content on here too. So also, if you guys need any of these deck lists, they're on my website, Eggman Events. I will be updating this page with more decks as well, and you can find this on the top of like the format for the events and tournament stuff. So we already do have one video and format or tournament to go over, the Perth regionals, which I already kind of went over, but we can check that out if you want to. All this here on my website, so make sure to check it out. So lastly, before we jump into it, I know I don't have Piccolo and Majin Buu. I think these decks could be good. I just don't have a build that I'm confident with sharing with people. I always kind of have the mindset, if you ever release a deck list, be prepared for someone to look at it, think it's good, and like build and buy cards for it. And I just wasn't in a spot. I didn't want someone to think, oh, this deck is good, or I can try it out, and just for it to be a flop. So if I ever do get any good deck lists for those two, I'll definitely put them up here. And I want to continue to update this page with my builds as I get them. But these are just the ones I have right now. But I think these are a pretty good 7. And I think honestly, these are probably most of the top end for the meta, unless a discovery is made, with a new deck being a little bit more viable. So there are some other viable decks. Like we got like Fuse and Masu. I think honestly Blue's in a really, really good spot in this meta in general. So I think most blue leaders are viable in some sense, but we're focusing on the new Goku and the Vegeta as well. But we're gonna go over all the list here real quick. Outside of Aandroidd 17, you kind of know what these guys look like, right? We're not gonna really go over them. They didn't change at all going to FB03, but I did have like just an example deck list for anyone still trying to get into that one. So we're going to start off with our new ones. It's going to be Bardock and Goku GT. And I do also just want to shout out, this is based off of John Argios's first place list from Perth. I had a different build and it just wasn't clicking, and mostly because I think I kind of fell for a trap for this leader. So it has this activate battle your turn once per turn. Look at the top card of your deck and use up to 1 battle card with Bardock's crew and his special traits in a combo. Place the rest of the top or bottom of your deck in any order, right? So because of this, kind of my thought for what this card's supposed to do is like, oh, we have to stack the top card of our deck every time. That's the idea with it. And generally, that's kind of not worth the amount of effort to go into it. You're losing a lot of card advantage that you could just use an extra combo kind of thing. And there's not a lot of effects like compared to Blue Goku for that kind of stuff. So generally what it looks like, kind of the better way to do it is you just have a lot of these like 1-drop cycle cards. Like you'll notice like the Bardock crew cards we have are Fasha, Borgos, Bardock, and Bardock, right? And one of these don't have any counter, right? But what I've noticed too is that because of the activate activate battle, what you can do is you can put it on the top or bottom of your deck. So you can kind of just do like a little thing. If it's a card you need, leave it up there. If it's not, put it to the bottom of your deck so you get a little bit more cycle that way, which is really nice. We do have one card to set up the top of our deck. It is the Kakarot, which sometimes this does come up. It just means that if you need to play Kakarot to generate another energy marker, you don't technically go card minus, because then you can put like a Fasha to the top of your deck and then combo with it with the leader effect. So because of that, with the idea that, we're just going to generate a lot of value, a lot of pressure, we do need 4 of this guy, which is making this deck the most expensive deck in this game right now. This is pretty terrifying that they made a secret rare this good already in set 3. So the issue with this too, obviously on the online client, you need 4 copies of it, and there's not a really efficient way to do so, I'll say. But obviously this card can carry the entire deck, and then you just kind of go from there. So obviously Bardock also just being able to be a generic removal. It doesn't get around a lot of protection effects, unfortunately, but being able to use this to be a double striker and just being able to manually combo 2 cards from your hand already, you're not afraid of. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Other cards, we do have like Son Goku GT just for like awakening and pressure. We also have Pan. This card is actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be, but the when attacking comes up pretty often. So, and mostly because I think this meta is based around 4 costs. I think 4 costs are like the good removal cards. We have like Jiren. We also have like the blue Gohan from that. So because of that, there's and also our own secret rare. Because of that, there's just so many decks that have a solid 4-drop. So being able to use this Pan to even just bounce it back to hand, you already get so much tempo that you get just a lot of value from it. The fact that it draws as well, it's just our like really good removal, because it also, there's no protection, or there's less protection for this compared to KOing a card outright. So this card specifically for Jiren, which I don't know how present it's going to be. I think people are really trying to make that card work, but I think between Pan and also just blue, there's a lot of decks that just are able to get some value from it too, or get some removal for it and prevent your opponent from getting value from it. So last card, this Bardock's pretty dumb, especially in pair with our leader effect. But being able to be like a 25 and a 20k double attack with like little regard, right, with little cost, I think that's kind of the way to build this. So I don't know. So obviously we play a lot of these 1-drops that just draw, which is nice. We also have this Hercule GT, which I thought this card, like I didn't really give this card a second look. This card is stupid good. It's super good. It just adds, it's like a little peel off. Obviously there's more of constraint. You have to have an energy marker, and it can't be a Hercule, so you can't Hercule Loof. Doesn't matter. The fact that you can just grab a Parter Brothers, the fact that you can just get like value, like if you need to, like for 2 additional energy, you can play Hercule, grab a card, and get Son Goku Childhood. It just means that you can use it to make your plays a little bit better, in the sense that you're able to like generate more combo power if you have any extra energy, kind of thing. So I think this deck, it felt pretty clean. I've been doing some testing with it since switching from I need to stack my deck every turn to get that extra value, and it's just been feeling way more streamlined. So I don't know if this is the way that this deck's going to look like for the next little bit, but it felt very confident. I felt very confident in it, and it just felt very, very strong. So this is the build there. We also have Son Goku GT, and in my tier list video, I put Goku GT above Bardock because I thought Goku was a little bit more generic, and I was kind of blinded by having to use the Bardock crew effects, and you don't need to. So you're going to notice this deck looks almost identical to the previous one. And really just comes down to choice from there. Pretty much what we did, we just put a bunch more 1-drops in here. We put 4 Guru as well. We took out the Borgos because we don't need this one. This one's just kind of like a weird tech. It's just a 10k if you really want to think about it, that you can also get back with Hercule GT, and sometimes you can put it on top of your deck so you can use your leader effects. So just make this like a little bit less RNG kind of thing. But you'll see this one's pretty much the same with the Goku GT effect of being able to it gets like a little like Hercule GT effect. You get plus 10k powers until the end of your opponent's next turn as well, so you get some cool things. And so, like for example, my only thing is that you don't like use this until like really, really late game, but then you will get a lot of extra energy for it. Obviously, using it with this Bardock is stupid good because you get to attack with it twice. So if you're able to get the effect where you put the 1 on there, and then you're able to, and you use an energy marker for it, you get a 35, and let's say combo with 5, so 40 and a 35. That's great late game, mid-late game, so I think that's helpful for it. Obviously, Son Goku GT, you generate a marker when attacking, so there's kind of like a little bit of reverse synergy with this one, because if on the turn you play it, as assuming you play it on curve with an energy marker, you're not able to boost it, but then like every turn afterwards you'd be able to, which is nice. And I think this deck can be a little bit more pressure wise as well, but I don't know, it just comes down to personal preference as well too. So, but also I didn't really mention Bardock being at 25k on attack. I think is really relevant too. Just means it's stronger against a couple of peak decks too. But in general, I think this deck is great too. It's gonna be interesting to see which one comes out on top. But both I feel are very strong. I don't feel like they're broken yet. I don't think they're tier 0, but I do think that they are both very, very viable in this meta. But unfortunately, again, they're kind of off the backs of this card being very good, which is unfortunate because it is a little bit inaccessible to people, but we'll see how that goes for it. So these are the two decks for the new archetype and for black, and let's jump into the next pair of them. So next up we've got Son Goku, and this one actually, this is the first one I really played with it, and I really jive with what this deck kind of wants to do. It's kind of complex to talk about on like a short term, but the idea with this one is you just try to get a lot of value from putting, like, unlike Bardock, you do actually want to put cards on the top of your deck because you really do get rewarded for it. Some good things for him is that you are able to use like this Orange Star High School, which again I thought, like, there's been so many games in this, and like Bandai makes, where they make this kind of complicated field card, and it's kind of specific, and it's either busted or it's very bad. So I was like, this one seems kind of bad, but I did some more testing with it, and it's actually mildly good. Being able to just be this field that you're able to keep out here. It does also mean you can use the activate battle of this Goku here, which is really, really good. And being able to get some, I don't know, you get to attack, put something on the top of your deck like this Son Gohan Adolescence, then you get to play it for 2, which is really nice too. So I think that's strong for what the deck does. We also have the You Prefer Girls with Short Hair, which lets you just get some draw. It's pretty easy to get 3 cards with Saiyan City on the top of on your board, especially since this counts as one of them, which is nice. So you really have to do 2. Sharpener is really great as long as it gets its effect, which we do have. What the majority of our deck is Saiyan City, so more likely than not, you have to flip a coin sometimes because you can't set up your deck. But if you win the coin flip, you generally get a lot of advantage to start winning the game, which is really nice. And then we just kind of have the rest of it here. So I do like, obviously peel off looping does a lot in this build. Being able to use it with Videl is obviously very strong. And then our late game of like Son Gohan Adolescence, the Vegeta, and the Goku Black as well. So you could also be running Synergistical. I just felt like we were already pretty clunky with not, you'll notice that we do have to run a lot of cards that don't have any combo, but you can do the thing where you draw 2, put 1 on top of the deck, so you just put a card that you don't need on the top of your deck, or doesn't help you on the combo side, which is nice. But I feel like this deck, when it goes hot, you feel like you can never lose. When you're just missing a piece, or when the combo doesn't work out, or like there are some clunky turns at times which feel a little bit bad with it. So I think like the consistency for this build is like a little bit lower than average compared to like maybe other blue decks, but when it hits its curve, it's the best one by far in my mind. So I think the deck is really good. Blue also, I don't know if this is what we should be doing, but I've been noticing it's been finding a lot of success for me, is that early game you just combo out of everything. You just do a lot of early combos. You make sure your hand size is always small, and so that way, if you have to use like your Son Gohan Adolescence effects or anything that you have 7 or fewer cards in hand, you always have it. Like there's so many games where I've been at like my opponent's been at like 3 life. I've been at like 7. And because of that, like I'm never afraid of losing on the other side. And my opponent, if they're attacking into my bigger bodies anyway. So me being a 15k leader doesn't really come up. Obviously, we do miss being able to use our leader effect, but that's kind of like if they pressure me enough, then I get rewarded for it by becoming like a stronger leader and getting my effects a little bit easier. So this is a Son Goku though. I like this guy a lot. I do think if it's either him or Vegeta right now. I think all the blue decks are very viable with honestly just like this card and the package of cards we're able to run, but this one's been feeling pretty clean. And then for Vegeta, I've been moderately finding maybe a little bit more success with this guy. It's just super basic. You just attack, you just combo out, you use peel-offs to loop your cards, you use your like 1-drops to draw. And then late game, you just drop like 4 Vegetos in a row, and then you eventually win because they put down enough pressure. So it's grindy, it's slow, but like you just get so much value. Most of the time, our opponents are going to be taking their early hits as well, which means that we get like a bit of boost of advantage from that. And we just have some really good removal into this meta. So with the exception of green, most cards that we're able to get rid of, we can. The only card that we like 6-drops Aandroidd 1718 is a little bit stinky, but then we can use like My Future, and they're going to get rid of the Vegeta, right? There's not going to have that on the board, but My Future into Vegito is really great, being able to do that. We also have like Zeno that can wipe a board if it's really wide. So in general, I think we get a lot of advantage and pressure, and then we can kind of punish them late game. And then I super like playing Goku Black for 6, and I also do think that there are some builds that are around with like the Goku Black leader, being able to use it to as well, like more of like a crit pressure one, maybe like not even focus on like a leader effect outside of like running a couple of Zamasus for it. But I think that because of like where Blue's at right now, like again, the Sun Gohan Adolescence, this is a really silly card, right? This is like a 17-18 for that cost 4 that bottom decks instead. It doesn't have double strike, but otherwise like a really, really strong card. So again, I think this meta, like this Vegeto's become really, really necessary, unfortunately, because it is another secret rare for this game. But being able to use it to attack twice, being able to bounce something, but just get like the tempo back in your favor is really good, and it helps you in a lot of matchups. So I don't have much more to say about Vegeta. I think he's great. I also think, again, Zamasu Fused, obviously on a slower control side, is viable, and like maybe Goku Black on like more of a crit pressure kind of build. I think all these are viable decks right now, and you can definitely check them out. But these are the ones I've been finding more success with. And then to kind of wrap it up, we do have the red deck. So we've got Jiren, and we also have Beerus for this. And Jiren, I think I really want this leader to work, and I think he can. But sometimes it's just really, really difficult with it. So he's a 25k base. He does have this permanent battle card with 30k power or more. If you have one, you only take up to 1 damage in each battle, which is really nice. And then also auto, when you take the damage, you get to draw a card. So because of that, he's in a weird spot where you need to play these 30k bodies, and because of that, it's really rough when you don't have one out. So obviously his premier card is this Jiren here, right? Permanent, this card can't be KO'd once per turn, and then activate battle once per turn on your opponent's turn. If you take 1 damage, and then if this card's in rest mode, add the top card of your deck to your life. So how this works too is that if he's in battle, like the idea is that it combos with this effect, right? So if he's on the board in general, you get this permanent, but since you take the damage with the 4-cost Jiren, you get to draw a card from his own effect. Then you get to draw a card from the leader, and then if your opponent's attacking into your Jiren leader, you just don't take damage because it's the same battle based on wording. So you've already procced its permanent, and then you just don't get the effect. So it seems really good. And the issue is that this card, even though it seems like it's not, is very, very removable. Obviously, I was talking about in blue, being able to bounce this back to hand is very good. We have Pan in black being also able to bounce this back to hand. You just don't get to use his effect ever, which is really tough in most matchups, I think, that are going to be relevant. So red can also just give it minus 30k, and then it doesn't go away. So honestly, I think it's a good thing for this game that it doesn't have like barrier. Imagine if this card had barrier. If this card had barrier, the game's over. You just play this deck, you win, right? So because of that, it's kind of unfortunate that he's in the spot that he is. If it's a permanent, this card can't be removed from the board once per turn. That would probably be like the middle ground, because at least blue would have to attack into it kind of thing. But it's also like a rough card just to, and if you have multiple copies kind of thing. So, but if it's able to stick on the board, you feel really good with it. And the rest of this deck, we're kind of running more of like, of course, like the Tournament Power package. Kefla is still really good. Sun Gohan Adolescence is really good for removal and self-awaken and just everything. So that's kind of the idea of what we're building for this one. But we do, I kind of feel like we have to run a little bit more on like the top end side. So being able to use this, there's just so much things that are 30k power or less that are great. The Gohan, we also have the what's his name? Goku GT from this one. Yeah, Goku GT, it's 30k. All these things, Room Sheet's just a really good card. So if we're playing like more of a late game removal game, just being able to play a body that just guarantees gets rid of one of your opponents and is also a 10k, I think is good for it. So those are the Beerus that goes wide. Since we were so based on running 30k stuff, we have Glimpse as well, just because we can leave like 2 energy open, and then we can be defensive with it because we'll have a if we have a 30k out, we get the effect, which is nice. So I think that's kind of like what our idea for this deck is. Also, for the record, this just adds any 4 cost, so it can add Jiren technically. Like this card's still really cracked. It's common. Why do they do this to us? But because of that, I think that's very strong. So other card is Vegeta. This card is really neat, and since we can play it off Kefla, I kind of put it in there just more of like you can run this card and less of a you should run this card. It also has KO protection, which again means less and less in this game with how blue's removal's going and with how red is. But since it's going to be a 50k, likely red's not going to be able to get rid of it. So mostly just blue. So against any deck that's not blue, this card I think is in a good spot. But it's really rough sometimes. So but this is the build that I have right here. I'm not sure. This is probably the weakest build of them all, to be honest. But I do think that the deck does have some potential, and I hope someone figures it out. It seems like in a meta where like we've had like red as like a removal deck and as an aggro deck, but this kind of seems like a bit of a tower deck, which is I think really interesting. So I kind of hope it works out. And then lastly, we've got Beerus. I still think this is just like the generic best red leader in the game. It just has better removal than everything else. I will say like removal is getting like he is running like a little bit less of the like card advantage game. He has like just so few cards, since he has to use cards to get rid of your cards, and since we don't get some draws at the beginning of the game with his critical, I think that kind of comes up a little bit. But he does have a new tool, which is this 3-drop Beerus. So on play, you get to add 1 card from your life to your hand, then activate main for 1, place this card as owner's drop. If your leader has God Destruction, you get to play Beerus at 35k. So being able to play this on, technically, if you have the energy marker, if you go second, you can play this card on turn 3, which is absurd. Being able to have a 35k crit, that also clears likely your opponent's board. And then the other thing too is that most decks won't have an immediate answer to this card too. It's going to be very tricky to do so. So because of that, I think that's very strong for what this deck's trying to do. And I think it's a really good combo. So because of that, we want to kind of maximize being able to see that more often. So we do have the Assemble Representatives at Universe 7, which helps us search if we need to early game, and like not a terrible combo on the offensive side if we need to. And then just again running some of the tournament power stuff and everything. So I think this, like, it's not too exciting. We also do run Jiren. It's neat. It's kind of good for like late game as well. It means that your opponent has to have like some specific removal. This also works, like it just says, if you read this Activate Battle and just says you read as draw 1 instead, still a good card. 30k, draw 1, not too bad. So obviously no combo with it, but I think the rest is in a pretty good spot. So nothing too exciting. We've kind of seen what red and Beerus looks like, but I do want to say, it did get a couple new tools, and I really do like this card. I think it's viable. I think it's worth it. It seems like a little bit specific at times, but if you get it off, you get a lot of pressure because again, a 35k crit on turn 3 is very rough, especially when it can remove your board, because nothing should be more than 25k power if on your opponent's turn 3 either. So that's a really good removal for it. So that's going to be it for this one, and that's going to be it for this video in general. So again, all the deck lists in the description, linked there. See if you guys want to check them. I'll be continuing to update this with more builds as I have them. But I think this Honesty has been a really fun meta. I don't think yellow's really in it quite yet. If there's a yellow build, it just doesn't exist yet that I don't know about. So I'll be curious to see if that comes up. But that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.